I wanted to start off by showing you something that I forgot about last time. I tried to make this guy a blacksmith and it worked out just fine, except it didn't look very good because you had to actually redraw the table by going Control F5. It's all there, but it's on 2 lines. It doesn't look very good because it had to break in the middle of a word. There's a method that sets the height correct for the widget after you type into it, but you have to call it set height. Let's uncomment that and show it over again, and this time should be okay. Now you see it redrew, but let's delete it. Okay, now it's not there anymore. Now let's say, make sure it's nice and long. Let's say blacksmithizer. See, we haven't tabbed out yet, but you can use your up and down arrows to see what's in there, make sure it's spelled right, and then you tab out and it sets the height of the widget correctly. So I just want to show you that real quick before I go like this. Tab out, now it says blacksmith resized again. TreeBARD saves everything immediately in the database, so you don't have to go Control S or anything like that. But if you see something that isn't formatted right, you can go Control F5 to redraw the persons table, which includes the nuclear family table and the conclusions table, which has events and attributes in it. What's next? Well, this isn't doing anything right now. We want to make that a place autofill. Let's call it CellAutoPlace. CellAutoPlace. Okay, so let's go over here to where we make our cells. Make table cells. We're going to take this out. This is column 2. Where places go. So we're going to add another condition here for that column. If column equals to cell equals CellAutoPlace. I have to look this up now, which is going to be over here someplace. Haven't made it yet, but we want to model the one that we have already made, and it's right here, EntryAutoPlace. This is a bit more complicated than the one we just did. But I recognize the part that's just an autofill. This part, match string, show here. So there's nothing to it. That's what you're trying to tell me. Oh, okay. Well, what is all this then? It's just easy? Let's not say it's easy because that's a jinx. We're not going to have autofill equals true or false anymore. You just use the one you want to use. So we won't want this either. We do want master, family tree, and values. All right, let's see what we have to do to make this work now. First thing I want to do is inherit from. Let's assume that this was done this way for a reason and do it the same way. So we're going to inherit directly from cell, like this inherits directly from entry. We're not going to inherit from cell autofill. I would have done that if it was easy. Here. There doesn't seem to be hardly anything unusual in here, but where has this been used? There were 3 different types of overlay. One was for generic, one was for events, and one was for places. Here's what I was looking for, the values. Where do you get your values from? See, this is different than the other one. They're not all perfectly synchronized. These things happen when you work on something for years and years and keep making changes and improvements. You start in one place and go one direction with that branch of the family and the other direction with the other branch of the family, and pretty soon you don't know your own third cousins. One time when I was first making TreeBARD, before I called it TreeBARD, I wanted to call it Uncle Jed because I used to watch Beverly Hillbillies when I was a kid. I found out that someone else had started a program called Uncle Jed one time, and then they never really did much with it. So I wrote to the guy and I said, hey, you're not using the name anymore. Is it all right if I use Uncle Jed? And he said, yeah, why not? I'm not really using it. Oh, and by the way, we're 6 cousins. Well, that was interesting. Let's just copy this. This is the part that we care about. Make table cells. Let's just copy this to use as an example of the sort of things that we may be interested in. This is a parent. The parent's going to be self. Self, in this case, is just a frame. It's the events table class. Now we want self.familyTree. as the second obligatory positional parameter. We want this, and let's just copy that and see if all that might be relevant somehow. We're just trying to move in here, and the buzzword these days is seamlessly. Seamlessly replace one procedure with another. I had made a note to myself earlier. Instead of passing overlay to validate place class, pass the cell instance. So if we go to validate place, over here in init, you see I got rid of overlay, but let's replace it now with, I don't know, InWidge here is going to be these widgets right here. That's now going to be InWidge. Everything has been simplified. We don't want to complicate things. Well, what was being done with overlay? Pretty sure these two groups of code can just be ignored and deleted as soon as possible. Where else did we say overlay in here? Not much there. This is the validate place class. All right, so it looks like over here on 743, this is going to be important. Validate place has a class level widget called overlay. The reason it was a class level because there was only one for all the place widgets. So you just move it to where you want it when you need it. 743. If I ask you later, where am I? Don't say you're in Southern Mindanao at TREEBARD University. You tell me you're on 743. Oh, here's another one I need to deal with that too. So there's two down here close to each other. You can use Control F if you're not an old hillbilly like me. Up here above init, we have a class level variable. I vaguely recall finding this whole scene rather distasteful. You see, it's an instance level that gets turned into a class level, and I don't even want to think about it. The reason for having a class level overlay was that the same widget was used as an overlay to lay it over on all kinds of different stuff. I want to just hopefully completely ignore that. It's all been commented out, and look, we've got InWidge over here too. So if I need something to confuse myself with, I could just go on ahead and use that. And InWidge is the same way. It comes in as a parameter, and then we changed it, see, so that it's both a class level and an instance level. And I recall not liking that, but I eventually got it to work somehow. Self.single place values is something that we get like this. We don't need single place values in this autofill. This autofill is for nested places. The idea is if you're going to be seamless, then don't change anything you don't have to. Don't redesign stuff that's working, even if you find it distasteful to not redesign it, because we're doing one thing at a time. Otherwise, problems created by shooting in the dark type of solutions. We want to keep all this stuff unbesmirched by me trying to be clever. Keep it all. And find out what parts of this then will need to be added back in without using the overlay as a mediator. So that's a quick look at what we apparently are up against. Or let's run a code and try something and see what the first error is. We're probably not ready to do any such a thing, but just curious. That sort of stuff, that's easy to fix. CellAutoPlace. Oh yeah. We need to make CellAutoPlace, don't we? To do that, we're going to inherit from Cell. And we're going to use place, not the validation. We're going to use a different class. Not the places tab, this one. EntryAutoPlace. I'm going to take that over there and copy the whole thing. And then go through it and change stuff. This is CellAutoPlace. This inherits from a the family tree class has an attribute for place autofill. So every place autofill that you create, in other words, self, is going to be saved in a list over there in the family tree. We're not using autofill anymore. That Boolean is gone. So this is going to run every time because it's always going to be an autofill now. No longer needed. strip off the plus, if any. The plus is for new places. We didn't put that -1C. Let's just copy this line. This is the copy from our generic cell autofill. We don't have any variable called char right here. We do have a self position, so presumably they're kind of like the same thing. Oh, this looks pretty good. What's this? Self.pos equals self.index insert. I think that's one of the few things that works exactly the same on the entry and the text widget in Tkinter. Now, I don't want to forget why that's there, so I'm going to get rid of it. What else can I mess up? Don't know if I need this. It was needed on entries. This needs to change. Self.iCursor works for entries. That's down on show hits. There it is. That was the hardest part, as I recall. So there's iCursor. This is over in places.py. Let's try this also. I'm going to keep the old versions in case I ever want to know what I did that ruined my life. Let's try calling this InWidge, since we're no longer putting a overlay as a mediator between the input widget and the database or whatever. Edit input. So what we're saying is that cell, okay, we're in the validate place class. We're referring to a class level attribute of validate place, and it was passed to validate place from the place where it came from, which would be, I suppose, the events table. And then that widget has an attribute edit input. Let's just go see about that. Overlay had an attribute edit input. Yeah, overlay. Okay, what is edit input? Self.overlay.edit input equals self.edit input event type. Or, in our case, in this case of places, it would be self.edit input nested place. Self.edit input nested place is the autofill itself. It's the input in the overlay. Well, it seems to me like we're using this. So what if we was to assign it a value so that nobody complains? That'll be there. I don't know if you have to say -1C or not. Guess we'll find out. If something doesn't work, try that as a fix. Not that experienced with Tkinter text widgets. We've been here before. Pretty sure we got the answer to this in the generic cell autofill that we created in the model long ago. The error is here. One of these is an integer and one of them is a string. Show hits. Here's our model. Show hits. Just copy all this. See what's wrong. Unless I missed something, all I gotta do is comment this line out. Try not to analyze anything. If I need to analyze something, by golly, I'll do that tomorrow. It's already 4:30 almost. 112. 112, we're in here, and the problem was slice indices must be integers or none, and the problem is this index right here. So let's go look at the model again. Detect press. It's kind of nice when you actually go through all this with a small model, so that when you're doing it in the big app, you don't like totally freak out and stuff. Well, maybe I should be freaking out. I don't know. There's the model. Okay, it's in this line, the only line that's different from the model, so I'm assuming that something had to be changed when we were working on the model from the model that we were working on then, which probably looked like this. There's line char right there. So we've got self.post position, but we're setting it and then not using it here. Instead of trying to analyze the problem, whatever the problem might happen to be, I'm going to try to adapt this code to be very, very similar to that. Keep this, use this, but change it a little tiny bit. We do have char? Oh, I see. This is our model. This is the cell autofill. We're using self-post here, but we're not using it here. I don't want to think about what that means. So where did I get char? I got it from here. Oh, I see. I missed that line. Well, of course, we got line and we've got character. When you're dealing with 1.0 instead of just 0, first we got to get line and character out of something that looks like that. It's a string. We got to turn the part that's still a string into an integer. And that looks like it might match the model. The most important part is if you try something and it doesn't work, you don't go forward, you go backward. You go back to the last thing that worked. That's just my advice. I've only been doing this for almost 6 years. Try again. No errors this time. Also, nothing is autofilling. So let's type a brand new place, tab out, and see what the error is now. So this self-overlay edit input was a variable that was either the event type, the nested place input, or the generic input. So basically, it's just the input. We don't no longer have an overlay, so we don't need all these intermediary variables either. Now, I'm pretty sure it would be unnecessary, if not wrong, to keep this as a class attribute, but I don't want to fix everything at once. I want to fix one thing at a time. And this is a redesign, so let's not do any redesigning we don't have to do in order to just get it working. And once we get it working, then maybe some further simplifications would be in order. But I just don't think we need this at all. I think what we need is that right there. Let's see if that changes anything. Tab out. Well, look, it's trying to do something. It opened up the place dialog. Same problem on 744, so we'll just get rid of that. Let's say that Orlando was born in Mexico. It's not autofilling yet. Tab out, and there you go. This is exactly what's supposed to happen. We don't have a place named Mexico. You would click that and click OK. And then if you know for sure there's only one place in the whole world named Mexico, then you'd also click that. Now let's try it again, and this time we won't cancel. By the way, I don't know why nothing is autofilling. That might be the least of our problems, or it might be the most of our problems. I haven't got the slightest idea. Let's just find out one of these times. But first, I'm going to type Mexico the way I want it spelled. Tab out. There's what we're looking for. We're going to make a new place called Mexico. But we are not going to check that because we do certainly want to check that we're not trying to input Mexico, Missouri, which would be also a new place named Mexico. So we don't want to stop asking. 246 cancel place dialogues. Before, there was an overlay in the way, and in case of success in validation, we would have to take what had been typed into the overlay input and configure the actual table cell with that text. And that's all this did. Control F. How many of those are there? Return focus. And I said I didn't need this also. I don't know, we might need this, but oh, I see what that was for. We're in places now. Oh, that would return focus to where it was before we went into that dialog. Oh, changed my mind here. EntryAutoPlace. That's probably being used for making new places in the Place tab. Let's just say, oh, well, we should just be able to say focus set. Those labels were a lot of extra work. This should not be necessary because we've already typed into there. Let's say he was born in Mexico, but he got divorced in Mexico, Missouri. I'm going to tab out now. Oh my. Now watch, it's going to open 3 of these. My idea is just open one and change what's on it 3 times. We do want a new place named Mexico. What is the Mexico hint? Well, in this case, the hint was made automatically, and it just happens to be timestamp of when Mexico was created. And this is the only example we have of Mexico, which tells us kind of that it's a country because there's nothing, comma after it. So we're going to make a new place named Mexico and hit OK. That should be a next button, by the way. We don't have Missouri yet. We're going to make a new place named Missouri. And here is our USA hint. It's in these 2 places, Aspen and Parachute, Colorado. So we're going to use the existing USA, not make a new place USA. And we could say, don't ask about USA anymore, but I'm not ready to do that just yet. And it knows that was the last one, so it put it here. Now let's see if it's in the database. I'm pretty sure it's not going to autofill. For some reason, autofill isn't doing anything yet. Select everything from place name. And since the last time I did that, the last one was Campbell County, and then we created Mexico, the country. That's place ID 37. We created Mexico, Missouri, which is place ID 38, and Missouri is place ID 39, and we did not make another United States of America. If we look in the latest nested place, we're going to see 38, 39, and 26. 38, 39, and 5. Oh, I see. There's a mistake in here. 5 and 26 should not be separate places. Don't know when that happened. There's 37, that's Mexico, the country. Mexico, Missouri, USA. I just skipped the county. You can make an autofill string with the county in it. You can make an autofill string with the township in it, and all these place IDs are going to stay correct. Okay, so it did go in. The dialogues did work. No errors. The next thing to fix is why isn't it autofilling? If I start typing an M, it should autofill this, that, or the other thing, such as Mexico. And if I type Mexico and keep going, it should type in Mexico, Missouri. So if I type M, little or big, it should start, but it's not, and there's no errors. That widget is right here. Are there any hits? If so, they should be registering somewhere. 156. There are no hits. Where do we make the table cells? Let's find out where this list is made. It might be empty. Let's check match string. This is one of our models. There it is. Oh, remember earlier when I said if you get a problem, solve it like this? Tkinter puts a new line character at the end of every text widget, and you can't get rid of it. You have to do a little extra work to ignore it. There you go. There's Mexico. Now if you go comma right here, space, M, there's Mexico, Missouri, USA. Tab out, and there you go. And then we're going to ask ourselves, why? Are we getting an error saying that this cell does not exist. Instead of reusing widgets now and just ungridding them when we change the table, then we're actually destroying the widgets. So we need to go to line 50 in widgets, see what we can do about the fact that the original widget no longer exists. What happened before that? What called set height 412 in events table? Unfortunately, I just added that today. Okay, that happened after redrawing the table. It didn't used to be this way, but what happens now when you redraw the table, you're dealing with a whole new set of widgets because the old ones were destroyed, and those new flashy white ones that you saw, those are new widgets. We don't have the CellAutoPlace number 12 anymore. It no longer exists. Everything worked. It's in the database. What would happen if you just don't do this? It solved a problem earlier, but what would happen if you didn't do it? Well, I think the reason I did that earlier was to make the widget come out the right height, so you would see both lines here, because it was putting blacksmith, putting the H on the second line, and then only showing you the second line. Now, what if you did that and tabbed out? No error. All right. It's good enough for now. We'll catch back up with it when it catches back up with us. Now that it's autofilling, the next problem is if you put in a new or duplicate place, there's no places called Tacoma yet. No place. As far as the events table, I don't know what further problems we're going to come up against, but I consider this events table rewriting project to be finished. At this point, I go through this, and there are some things that need to be done, and there are some things that don't have to be done, but it would be nice to fix them. There are no emergencies here. Inadequate, though that's almost an emergency, but not quite, because TREEBARD isn't finished, and I don't want to try finishing it this week because it ain't gonna happen. What I gotta do is not pile too much on, because I had a goal and I have now reached that goal. I have got the events table rewritten. It took weeks and weeks. Got a lot of movies made out of it, and what I would rather do is keep the code that's working for now and just keep these things on the do list that are desirable but not absolutely necessary right now. So I'm going to declare the events table project finished for now. Autofills have been replaced with multi-line autofills. The overlay has been deleted completely from my life except for in the families table where it is not causing a problem. I'm going to keep it there for now. I'm trying to learn to not make my goal impossible to reach, because there's only one of me, and I could give you a list of my physical ailments since I'm going to be turning 68 in a little over 2 weeks, but nobody wants to know, including me. I have to force myself to go to the doctor every once in a while, find out what name they have for whatever ails me. It's like, oh, well, thanks for letting me know. Oh, no, you keep that prescription. You take those pills. I'm not going to, because I don't think I'm supposed to live forever. I want my goals to be attainable so that I don't look like a complete idiot. Well, so that nobody catches on what a I am. So I'm going to say, well, I have achieved something. Now I'm going to post all my code while I have a beautiful app that works, so that when people copy my code, install Python, and try TREEBARD, then they can see what it does, instead of forever being in between some big rewriting project where nobody can test anything. You get interested in something, then you want to try it. So I will post all the code on the forum blog repo. I will make another exe file, and I'll make that available on my website, the same as the other one, except I won't make the old one available anymore. We don't do versions here. You get the latest stuff, and that's it. So I'm very happy with what's been going on. I'm sure I missed some mistakes and some errors. I have not tried to do comprehensive testing. I have my various excuses. There's only one of me. I'm old, blah, blah, blah. Let's just say I think I'm doing pretty good under the circumstances, and I think that's good enough for now. And then after I finish editing these movies, then maybe I will go ahead and do the real next thing on my agenda, which is to finish the Places tab. That's the detour I took long ago when I decided, oh, what the heck. Instead of doing the Places tab today, I'm going to do GEDCOM today, and I'll probably finish it in about 5 minutes. Yeah, you know how that goes. That's what's going to happen. I'm going to edit these movies. I'm going to post my code. I'm going to make an EXE. I want people to tell me if the EXE works. I've put that on my website for you to use. Now tell me, does it work or does it not work? Only one person has actually told me whether or not it works. I want to know. If everybody says, well, work for me, and nobody says, well, it didn't work for me, then, then I know something. So anyway, keep on keeping on. That's what I'm going to do. I'll see you next time. Thanks for showing up. Bye-bye. This is Professor UD Guru coming direct from, where am I now? TREEBARD University in southern Mindanao. And I'll see you again, hopefully, soon. Bye.